This bill is literally designed for the small businesses. I mean, there's lots of benefits the individuals will get, but the businesses, absolutely, they will benefit the most. So the most important thing for the business owners is that in 2017, first bill that came into the existence, and one of the aspects in this bill was the QBI deduction. The QBI deduction, so it's a 20%. The extra deduction, it was never implemented. This was like the first time that was given to the business owners. So basically what it meant is that you can deduct 20% of your profits from your personal tax return. So, and that deduction was about to expire this year, 2025. So now they extended this up until 2034. So we can actually get the benefits to use this for another 8 years. That's how awesome it is. And then let me just give you an example how it works. So let's say, for example, if you're an LLC and S-Corp, it only works with LLC or only works with S-Corp. So let's say if you have a profit of 100,000, and then out of this 100,000, 20% will be 20,000 that can be deducted on your personal tax return as a deduction. So now basically the way it works is that you're not paying taxes on 100,000, you're only paying taxes on 80,000 because you're deducting the 20%, which is 20,000. And the same thing will apply for the Schedule C as well. So it's for Schedule C self-employed individuals, freelancers, they will get this deduction as well, and LLC and S corporations. So another thing, as I was talking about, so we spoke about the QBI deduction, which is the 20% deduction now that is being extended up to 2034 for another 8 years. The next thing is the depreciation, the special depreciation. So we had the special depreciation, and then they gradually took this off, so they were not. So basically, let's say, in other words, if you're buying an equipment for 100,000, you can deduct the whole 100,000. So that's the advantage of the special depreciation. So we had this before, but then they gradually were taking this away. So eventually, at some point, you will only be able to deduct like 20%, but now you can actually, with this special depreciation, with the new law, you would be able to deduct the whole amount. So that's another upside to the tax law. Another great benefit is it's so-called SALT deduction. So it's when you are on your personal tax return on Schedule A, you can deduct state taxes, city taxes, plus the real estate taxes. So what happened during the first, they limit the deduction up to $10,000. So now actually they gave it back to us. So that's another plus. So we can actually deduct it. If it's a merit filing jointly, you can deduct up to $40,000. So in other words, what does it mean? So let's say, especially like in the states like New York, California, so that's very beneficial. So let's say if you're paying state taxes, $20,000. Let's say if you're paying $10,000 in New York City taxes, so that's already $30,000. And then at the same time, you're paying, let's say, real estate tax of $20,000. So now it's a $50,000. And out of this 50, you can deduct 40,000, but before you were only able to deduct 10,000. So that's another great benefit. And now, let's say if you're like in a 25% tax bracket, so by being able to deduct this extra $30,000, so that puts $7,500 back into your pockets. So that's another great benefit as well. I think it's a great bill. So obviously, typically, whenever they implement the bill, so like they have to, as you hear that they're saying, oh, that bill, it's going to increase the deficit, blah, 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 all of this. So typically, right, so like even when I was sharing about this, the state deduction, right, when he reduced it up to 10,000. So because typically whenever they're trying to push the bill, it cannot just only, in a way, benefit the people, the business owners. So like they have to give something, and at the end of the day, they have to, in a way, create some kind of limitations towards something else. So in this bill, what actually they gave much more. But probably you heard about the Medicare. So this is like this is where the biggest concern comes into the place, that it's going to impact the regular people, those that are low on income, that on the Medicaid and Medicare. So that's like kind of the downside, to which honestly, I mean, my personal opinion, I think like whatever they came up with, that's I think it's a great idea. So, but because if they giving something, they need to make sure that the revenue comes to the streams of revenue comes um, into the government as well, so they can just give out. So I don't know. Honestly, in my opinion, maybe they will. I will come up with something later, but at this point, I don't see any flaws. The whole idea of all these changes for the business owners is to allow businesses to have access to the cash flow, so to increase their cash flow. So listen, we pay lots of taxes. And then businesses are the one who take the huge hit on paying lots of taxes. There's many taxes that business owners paying. It starts with the employee taxes. So if you employ someone, you have to pay the employee taxes like Social Security, Medicare. Then at the same time, you have to pay the taxes on being a business owner. You take a salary, you pay taxes on your salary, and then you pay both. You pay Social Security, Medicare as being an employee and being an owner. And then you also pay federal taxes. You also pay state taxes. Depending again where you live, you might be paying city taxes. Then at the same time, the business owners, they also pay corporate taxes. And the corporate taxes, they go based on the profit, then based on the gross revenue of the company, depending on which state where you live. Every state has its own rules. So federal obviously is the biggest tax that business owners are paying. And being so basically now with all this new tax law is just gonna give availability to deduct more and pay less taxes, meaning that it's gonna increase the cash flow for the business owners. And then by increasing the cash flow, so business owners will have access to more cash, and that cash they can reinvest it back into the business. So this is the whole idea. So whenever they coming up with the law, so this is like the way to look at it. Whenever they coming with the law, so even the like during the COVID, they would print out the money and give the bailouts. The whole thing is designed to put the money back into the economy. So, and back to the economy, back to the business owners. That's why business owners typically get the majority of the benefits, because the way, listen, we live in this great country, and this whole great country, it's all about the businesses. It's all about the businesses that provide the workforce to the employees. Produce, sell, like the whole economy depends on that. So basically giving more money to the business owners means that now business owners will have more money left, more cash left that they can put back into the economy, like hire more people, buy more equipment. That's the reason why they gave us like this special depreciation, this special bonus depreciation, where you can deduct the whole 100% of the purchase of the equipment. Why? So then the business owners can buy equipment. Buying the equipment, it allows you to scale the business, to grow the business. So and then there is a win-win benefit, because again, you're putting money back into the economy, right? And then at the same time, you're scaling your business, you're increasing your business, you're bringing more people to employ. So that's why this whole thing is designed that way. So for the business owners, obviously, it's an amazing win. But the next thing is to be able to manage this cash flow properly. And the next thing is to be able to take advantage of all these benefits. Like we are given this for the next 8 years, we have advantage of all these deductions right now. So the next step is to plan strategically, to plan wisely how to take advantage of all of that, and to maximize your deductions and increase your cash flow. If you ask someone who receives the Medicaid, Medicare, and heavily depend on that, and then they're not business owners, they're individuals, obviously they're gonna say that no, it was not a good idea, and they're gonna be losing money. But the way, look at it this way, they are offsetting. You're absolutely right. But here's how they're offsetting. Because now what is required, so for the, like before, if you have no income, you're eligible to receive Medicaid. But now they're saying, okay, yes, we'll give you Medicaid, but you need to work 80 hours. So, I mean, I'm sorry, what's wrong with that? Like, why do we have to work? Right? Like we as business owners, and then you as being part of the business, helping the businesses grow. Like why people have to work to make a living, and then those they just not working, and then they getting all the benefits for free. So you see, like, because by having that side, then it just pushed people more not to do anything so they can actually collect the benefits. But now what it's going to do is actually again, it's going to bring more money into the economy. So they're going to say, yeah, okay, no problem. We'll give you the Medicaid, but you just need to work and you just need to show the income. So then what it's going to happen is that it's going to bring more workforce back into the economy. And then by these people, by working right now, these people were going to start paying taxes. So this is how they're going to generate revenue to the government. So yeah, they're giving more to the business owners, but then look at this, it goes with the both sides. So then these business owners, they're going to have extra cash flow, so now they can employ more people. Because at the end of the day, this is what business owners do. You know, we make money and then we go and we spend. We buy equipment, we buy products, we buy services, we hire more people. This is the whole cycle of the economy. So, and those that understand, that's why they doing this. It's not to give more to the people who do not work or do anything. It's actually the other way around. Okay, let us give more to the business owners, so then these business owners can have more money and then hire more people and open up more jobs. So the same thing in the way, that's why during the COVID, this is why they gave the money. They gave the money to the business owners for the payroll for the employees. Why? Because the idea was, okay, now we're giving you this money so you can actually stay afloat. You can keep your business. You can put money back into the economy. And the way you're going to do is you're going to hire the employees. You're going to provide job to them. You're going to pay their salary. And then these employees going to go and spend the money buying all the supplies and all the living expenses. And that's the way you create the economy. There has to be a cycle of this money. The money need to flow. But then if you're gonna give to the regular people, what they're gonna do? They're just gonna go buy, and that's, by the way, some of it, that's what happened during the COVID, when everyone was getting unemployment. And then what happened is that they just stopped working. Like, why would we go work somewhere if we can get unemployment and do nothing? It's gonna bring, because another challenge we experience as business owners is that it's a challenge to hire someone, you know, to find people. But then, and then you see, like, why people would work if you can just get all these free benefits. You know, the benefit of being part of this beautiful country. Yes, if you just, when you just come and you don't know the language, or you don't have everything available to you yet, yes, okay, you can take advantage of all these programs that the government provides. But unfortunately, people take this at some point for granted, and then just, okay, let's just milk the system and get these benefits forever. But then, you know, again, it affects the economy. We're not even talking about the government, that the government is paying all the money. But then the business owners, there's no people in the workforce to work and produce. And that's our problem, by the way, today in US. We're not producing anything. We actually, if you look at our GDP, so we import actually more than export. And all, by the way, and what all the services that we get services from other countries, because our people do not want to work here. We do not produce anything, so that's why there's this whole thing with the tariffs right now, because we have to buy from China, from Taiwan, from all these different countries, because, like, there's nothing, like, we don't produce anything, we don't do anything. And that's the way to bring the jobs back to the US, so people can start working.